All right, now you see it, now you don't. It's kind of hard to see, but you can kind of see this little tiny crack in this glass. Can you see that? I know it's a little bit difficult to see, but that's a little bit what we're going to talk about today. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Coffee Q&A. I'm Jay, your host. We do questions about coffee 10 a.m. Eastern time. So how you all doing? Welcome to the show. Hope everything's going well. Glad to see all of you out there. So today's topic is really about glassware and some of the issues that you may have if you're using glassware. And so this is actually the Riedel, what they call the Riedel O water glass. And it's a really nice water glass that I've really come to enjoy drinking coffee out of. And as you can see, it's really thin here on the rim. So it's a really thin, relatively delicate glass that I've really come to enjoy using. And I've got a few of these. And they're great for home, and I think they're great for serviceware. Like with the new cafe opening, eventually I'll probably use some of these glasses in the setup. But they're not terribly cheap. They're like I have a link down below in the description to Amazon, and these glasses are like almost $40 for a set of two, like $37, I think it is on Amazon. So they're not cheap. So you do want to be careful. The problem is that they're glass, and at some point in time glass will break. There's just no way around it. Like we use Chemexes and all kinds of other glassware in the cafes, and they're always going to break. Something's always going to happen to them, and things that will happen to them are things that will happen that will not happen with stainless, right? Like you can damage stainless, you can dent it. Like this one here has a dent in it, right? But it never I mean, unless you totally crush it, or do something really extreme with it, it's going to be very difficult to actually need to throw it away, other than the fact that maybe you just get tired of it. Craig, good morning. And Moist Toenails, how's it going? Gosh, we got everyone, Canada, Singapore. Good to see all of you guys. And so, what to do when this happens? Here's something. This is like this is like $18 a glass. Like it's painful to throw it away. It is painful. And so you kind of have to be on, and let's be honest, we're people that are going to be a little bit cheap sometimes. So we're going to have to assess that. Now, don't get me wrong. In a cafe environment, professional cafe environment, serving the public, there is no question. Any kind of issue, we toss them, right? You just got to get rid of them. There's no way to take that risk that you may contaminate someone's drink, injure, a guest. That's just unacceptable. So, in any case that we've had over the years, any kind of chip, any kind of crack, we 86 that right away because that. Let me just make that clear. You want to do that, but if you're at home and you do it for yourself, and maybe the children that you don't love as much because they've been acting badly, maybe you might want to like take a little bit of a risk. And so we're just going to have a little bit of look at that. And good morning, Michael. Good to see you as well. So today we're talking about glassware, moist. So here's the thing. So we've got a crack here. You can just barely see it. This happened the other day when I was washing this and this together, and somehow I guess they clinked and it put a crack in it. I was really disappointed. And I was like, I'm gonna have to toss it. But this particular one, it does have a slight crack. So there is ways to repair this. If you look online, there are people that will use epoxies that can glue over that to prevent the crack from spreading. There's not really a chip per se. It looks like actually I can feel a little bit with my thumbnail right here. So there's a little bit of chips. You could epoxy over that to try to preserve it. The Japanese do this thing, not with glassware, but with porcelainware, where they're I forgot the term, but they repair the glassware that's the porcelainware that's broken. They will repair it with gold filler, and it becomes something beautiful again. I wouldn't say the same is done with glass, as far as I know, but yeah, you could put the epoxy on here to salvage it. Now, otherwise, if you do decide that it's time to get rid of it, it's best to recycle. You want to recycle your glass because it can go in the recycling stream and be processed back into fresh glass that people use. However, if you're using something like borosilicate glass, a very heat temperature resistant glass, something like Pyrex, or I believe that like for example, Chemexes are borosilicate, so you cannot You cannot really recycle those. The borosilicate glass has I think it's a higher concentration of borosilicates. I don't know what that is, but I don't know what that means. But basically, the additives that they put in the glass to make it more withstanding to heat and temperature swings will contaminate the rest of the glass and render that batch. I don't know if it renders it completely unusable, but it just makes it just is not suitable for recycling. So you want to separate those and dispose of those in the landfill. So things like the what is also borosilicate. So if you're using like Bodum Chambord, glasses for the French presses, those I believe are also borosilicate. I think even a lot of the siphon glass that you're using is also borosilicate. So those are the ones you want to leave out. But if for something like this Riedel stuff is just real glass. This is not even crystal because it doesn't have that nice, it doesn't have a nice ting to it. It doesn't have a lot of lead. So keep that in mind as you're doing. But this one we'll end up tossing because this one, it does have this chip, and I'm just not interested in trying to have to preserve it or worry about somebody drinking it and whatnot. So we're going to drop that, and I'm not going to put that there because that's the trash. Put that in the back there so that we know that it's going to be recycled. George is with us. What's going on? Kintsugi. That's it exactly. Thank you. Kintsugi is the name of the Japanese technique. And Craig, I'll put that. Thank you. I have a couple pots that I broke, and I was thinking maybe I should try that. I just don't know if I have the patience for it because evidently it takes like a couple months for you to do it correctly with all the right processes. So I don't know. All right. So today, now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's do a little brewing. I thought we'd, inspired by yesterday, I thought we would use the Hario W60 in its full regalia. And by that, I mean with all of the accessories and gadgets that you can get available with it. Now, the W60 does come as is with this new updated, kind of bulbous style, more venturied and more higher ribbing, right? I did a test a few months ago where we compared this and the orifices are about the same as the regular V60, so that hasn't changed much. Now, this is designed by my friend of mine, Pete Licata, who's the 2013 World Barista Champ, and he worked with Hario to develop this. And it has a double brewing system, right? So it has this mesh brewer that comes with it. It's just like a nylon mesh or polyester mesh or something like that with a plastic, like a nice hard ABS type plastic thing. So the idea is that you're going to filter some of the heavier stuff here. So the idea is you put the paper filter at the bottom, you put this, you add the coffee. That's going to hold up a lot of your heavier stuff and let really, really fine stuff through this, and then the fines are going to be filtered by the paper filter. Then on top of that, what we're going to do is we're going to add the Hario Drip Assist, and the Drip Assist is this device that you may have seen before that's supposed to, when it first came out, I thought it was supposed to regulate the flow of your water. Like you could just put all of your water in here and then it would just regulate that. But that's not exactly how it works. It does, because of the way that there's the holes in it, there are restrictions to the flow. However, it's not restrictive enough to regulate the flow to be 3 minutes. So you really still have to pour carefully. What it's really doing is distributing. So see the pattern here, how it fits here. It's kind of distributing it over the center, but it's still focused on the center of the water bed. Although let's see here, of the coffee bed. If we look here at the bottom of this and compare it to that, it does cover, it covers the interior of this ring. That's the width of the hole. So you're going to get a little bit of spillage over here. But if your coffee is spread out, I don't know how much that's going to cover. But we're going to find out and see what happens. Right, we're going to see what happens. So let's see what coffee we're going to use today. I think we're going to use this Cajamarca from Peru. This is from a company called Bad Habits in Dublin, Ireland. So we're going to give that a try. And George says, a painstaking process, but Kintsugi offers beautiful results. Speaking of painstaking, using this complete Hario setup is yes, this is going to be probably rather painstaking. But I do agree with you. The Kintsugi stuff is beautiful. Like the stuff that I've seen people do is beautiful. I'm just not of that skill level, I don't think. All right, so we're gonna take our milliliter filters. As always with these Harios, we're gonna fold them over. We're gonna preset our setup here. So like I said, we're gonna be using it by putting this paper filter in here. This is gonna be our secondary filter instead of our primary filter. And again, like I talked about yesterday, I just like to set the seam to the handle just because it keeps everything even. In this case, there we go. That's going to sit there. We're going to put that on top. Let's put that aside. And then we still have to measure out our coffee. Luckily, I was able to finally recharge this sucker, if it's working. There we go. See, the lights are bright again. Oh. 24. It's not the fastest tool in the shed. There we go. I don't know if that's true either. Okay, so that's our coffee. Look at the there's the beans, not too bad looking. We're gonna were we happy yesterday with our settings? I'm trying to remember. Were we happy? No, yeah, I think we were happy. I think it was pretty good. Just a lot of talking, that's the problem. A lot of talking happens, and so let's turn this open. Good morning, Rusty. All right, a little more popcorning effect, as you can see here. There's a couple pieces like lying there. Oh, it's gone through. Sometimes it goes through, sometimes it doesn't go through as well. You kind of have to manipulate it. Today we do not have to manipulate it, thank goodness. All right, so we're going to get our faux Hario kettle, brew kettle, brew, whatever you call that. I don't know. No, I'm not using a kintsugi method. I'm not sure how I would use the kintsugi method. This is the winging it, trying to remember what Pete told you how to brew it a year ago method. So we've got our coffee now. Okay, the coffee's ground. We're going to put that here on the upper filter, and then we're going to shake it up to level it out. We want to level out our coffee bed. I'll give it a little breathing room for this. There we go. Now, here's the thing. So you can see how big the bed is, and then you can see comparatively how narrow this distribution shower head is. And I do wonder about that and how well it will work. We're gonna try it out. But the things like the tricolette that Hoon likes to use, you can like maneuver it over your bed, right? So you can cover more of the bed, the coffee bed. I don't know. We're gonna see. George likes the bird eye view. Thank you. I'm glad you like that. That's a relatively new thing that we have going on here at the Coffee Q&A. And do you ever do the trick of spritzing the beans to water to cut down on static of the rest? I have not started doing that. I mean, I do think there's a lot of validity there. I'm not against it. I just don't have a spritzer, and I haven't taken the time to buy one. The ones that I do have are filled with or were filled with what we call what's it called? There's a very particular type of lens cleaner that I use, and now I can't remember what it is, but it's very particular. And while I don't think it would necessarily be a bad thing, like it's probably food safe. I just don't have one to use at the moment. So, all right, we're gonna boil this up. But if I ever think about it and get the chance to, I might be going to the Japanese market today. So they usually have those little tiny like spritzers. So maybe I'll pick up one to try that. All right, the water is boiling. We're gonna reset this. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take our normal approach to brewing and use it with this. So 75 grams for the first 30 seconds, and then doing 100-gram intervals at the minutes until we reach 350. All right, so let's give it a try. RDT is the winter time for RDT. Oh, is that that? All right, here we go. See, here's what I don't know. Do I pour in the center or do I pour on the outside? Maybe we'll do a little bit of both. Now, it is restricting the flow. You can see, I can see it down below that it's just dripping out of the drip assist. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go straight up to the 75 grams that we need. Oops, now we're 83.4. A little bit less control than I would prefer. Oh, that didn't help, did it? All right, let's go. Keep going. 100. I'm going to let that roll until we get to, you know, the minute mark. It's pretty much flowed through there. Let's see how it's looking. So we're seeing a lot of dry spots still, right? That's not cool. Maybe you have to turn it. Maybe I'm not pouring enough. That could be it too. Maybe because we're not really getting a buildup of our bed or water bed in the as we would, and I'm not really able to control the way that it's falling on the coffee, which I personally am not comfortable with, just because I'm so used to being able to pour when and how I want it. 166 at minute 30. I feel like it's going faster than I would like. 180, 180, 144. Okay, we're not too bad. I guess we can keep going. 197. I mean, it's just flowing through, as you can see. Let's go to 202, 200. And we're going to take a break and have a look at that and see. See, look at we're still getting these holes. I don't know. Let's see. I mean, this is just a different way of brewing. That's all. Just a different way of doing it. I have the fellow, Rescue says, I have the fellow ode and Cuisinart burr grinder at school. Let me add a little bit more water before I keep talking. Both produce so much static, it gets messy. That little spritz of water helps immensely keep you. Oh, yes, I totally will see that. Totally will see that, especially during the winter time when we get a lot more static cling. So 238, 240, 252, a little bit behind. Yeah, George, it's something that's become real popular over the last couple of years. People having a little bit of water, they spritz it on top of the whole bean coffee before they grind. Bald says, maybe follow the instructions for the drip assist. You know, maybe I should, but I have no idea what those instructions are. Pete showed me last year, and I don't remember what he did. I'm just like, okay. I'm just going to bootstrap this one. But here's the thing. Do you really need to have, the question I think also comes, do you really need to have a brewer that has very specific brewing directions to make a great cup? Or should you be able to use your intuition to make something enjoyable? Right, we're going to go to, we're 336, 343, 347, 353. All right, good. So we're going to be finished right around the time that we'd like, so that's not bad. And then Rusty says, George James Hoffman has a video about it on YouTube. Oh, about the spritzing? Yeah, he does have that. All right, let's see here. All the water, we'll pour a little bit of that out there. And so we've got our coffee bed here. We're 4 minutes. We're pretty much finished. So the whole brew is kind of finished, I think. Oh, no, it's not. because there it is. I'm going to take this out. Now, one of the things that does leave a little bit of residue that you do have to clean. So there is some, because only the fines are coming through the mesh filter. So that's leaving just very fine particulates, which tend to slow down the flow through the second filter, right? Anytime that you're trying to do this, and there's always some clogging that happens. Now, Pete did say that this has already been brewed and filtered, so you don't really have to worry about it flowing through here. And what I do remember him showing me is that he just kind of like took it and squeezed it to get all the liquid out. And you can see here there's a lot of finer sediments at the bottom. And I'm going to put that in there. And why, thank you, George. I appreciate that. But George, but actually, James is actually an old friend. We came up in the business together, so I've known him for a good 20 years. So he is a very good resource as well. And one of the nice things that he's had a lot of time to spend doing a lot of research and more meticulous type of background checking on a lot of stuff. And he also runs a very respectable coffee company called Square Mile in London. All right, so let's see here. What are we supposed to be tasting? We're supposed to be having notes of dark chocolate, walnut, maple, and ripe red fruit. All right, ripe red fruit. Did you see that? But he's so professional. Well, he is British. He's English. Those guys have a whole different way of presenting things. All right, let's give it a try. Oh, and Michael says that if there was a continuous steady flow rate of water from start to finish, would the coffee bloom in that 3-minute window? I'm wondering if it makes a difference if the bloom stage is skipped. Ah, good point. Well, the idea behind, the way that I brewed is that we do our 30 seconds so that allows time for the coffee to bloom. But if we just went straight for 3 minutes, I mean, the coffee will still, I don't think there's a way to get around the coffee blooming. I think really the idea of pouring the water, allowing the coffee to bloom, and then using water to knock it back down is really more because that CO2, right? So the CO2 off-gassing floats some of the coffee. Let's just say that it floats 10% of the coffee. So of your 350 grams, of your 24 grams, 2.5 grams are now floating out of 2.5 grams are floating out of the solution, right? So they're not really extracting fully. So you want to, the idea behind letting it bloom and then hitting with water is to push it down, right? Now, I think that in this situation, if we were using the drip assist, right, and just doing a constant 3-minute pour at a very steady rate, I think we would still have blooming happening, and the water still dripping down. So we would still drip down and basically hydrate what's floating. Now the part that I'm not clear on, and every time we pulled off the top, you would see these very distinct patterns from the dripping. So the dripping is really just kind of concentrated. I like to see everything be wet. This keeps it concentrated. So is it, I don't know if that's better or worse, but it's just different, right? So it's just a matter of like trying it and seeing like, how do you like it and how does it compare? And so today we're using this Cajamarca Peru, which is a great coffee, but the problem is that it's not a coffee we're brewing with regularly, right? So let's say if we really wanted to understand this, and if you had one of these at home and you wanted to understand it more, you have a coffee that you're drinking fairly regularly, probably every day, and you ideally would be using your normal brew method, right? However you make it, and you're used to that way. You like that way. That's what appeals to you. And then you try this, because that becomes the way you normally do it is your control. And then the way when you use this and you try it, however you try it, then that becomes your experiment. You can say, okay, well, I do like that. That does offer an improvement, or maybe it doesn't offer as much of an improvement as I would like, or maybe it's terrible. It could be terrible. I don't know. George is asking, is cajon marker the preferred choice for making? Oh, that could be. That could be. That could be. I don't think they're. I don't think that the traditional Irish coffee guys are that particular in that respect of where the coffee comes from. Am I missing anyone? Oh, there we go. April doesn't bloom for very light roasts because a blooming pour seems only to be needed for coffee that I met the April guy very briefly when he was in. He happened to be in Manila at the Philippine Coffee Expo that I was leading a panel on. He wasn't on my panel. He was just happening to be hanging out there. And I'll be honest, actually, I didn't know who he was originally. Like, nice enough guy, but one of my friends, she was totally like starstruck. She's like, "Oh my gosh, that's that guy, the owner of April Coffee." I was like, "Who?" I did get to meet a very nice guy, very nice guy, very nice guy. So, all right, let's have a taste of this coffee. Well, let's first look at the how it looks. Let's how it looks. Nice and clear. I mean, like, of course, we're running two-stage filtration, so it's going to have a nice clarity to it, right? And George is saying perhaps the technique is to rotate the water restrictor as you pour, so more evenly. That could be, and as Craig alluded to about me should be following the actual prescribed recipe. Maybe that's actually part of it. But this time I didn't, and I think in previous times that I have rotated a bit. Today I didn't because I just wanted to see, like, is there going to be? Do we need to? Like, is it going to require me to have more effort? I've already done extra effort by using a filter, a primary filter, a secondary filter, and then this. So I've got 3 pieces instead of 1, or 4 pieces instead of 2. Do I still have to manipulate it? It's like, I'm trying to find devices that will make my brewing life easier and less complex than having to like think more about. I need to like pour, rotate, pour, rotate, pour. It's kind of like we're disgorging like champagne, a little bit of. I don't know. Well, let's continue on. Let's continue. Oh, here we go. Craig says the technique is to bloom with the center holes and pour everything else. Oh. All right, next time. We're running a little bit roughshod here at the Coffee Q&A today. Oh, a little bit of sharpness, I think, on the initial taste. A good brightness. I can see some of this dark chocolate they're talking about. Definitely, there's a bitterness that I would say could be attributed to walnut-like characters. I also say maple. I'm not getting so much sweetness. Maybe some of this ripe red fruit, whatever that anomalous red fruit might be. Maybe more like apple peels, like red, delicious apple peels. Yeah, who knows about these descriptions? When I was editing last weekend's video, the video about us visiting Kahian Coffee in Sano, Japan, with my friends from college, right? So Kimberly, she's with me, and we're doing the video, and like what I was watching, I didn't know, honestly, if you watch the video, I didn't know she was making the faces and reactions that she made while we were shooting, because she's sitting next to me, and I'm not watching her. I'm just kind of like talking. And man, when I start editing in that part, I was like, oh my gosh, it's golden. Like she's so golden with her like reactions. And I was like, I couldn't help but to drop those little captions in there making fun of what we're doing. And I was like, wow, that's hilarious. Rusty says that I just had to take a call. Ooh, so busy on spring break. But Craig is right with his comment. I don't disagree. I don't disagree. The center holes and then the outside. Okay. Oh, and then Craig says, well, yeah, the house tour. For the house tour, I went full, like everything. I just let the video run the entirety of the only times that I cut were when we ran out of battery. Like the battery on my camera lasts about 45 minutes to an hour. So that was the only time that we really cut. I did have to trim out some because there's a part where we're listening to Paul's sound system. It really does sound great. And actually it sounds really good on the video source. However, the copyright laws are such that that I can't use it. So it's like, oh well. So unfortunately, I had to trim all that audio part of it out. So that's like 2 minutes worth of audio that's trimmed out. It doesn't. We're able to trim it out without deleting the dialogue. But that's a little bit of shit, a little bit of disappointment. But the track is really pretty, and the sound of the quality of the sound in the room was really really solid. And so, and the call was from Amy, and yeah, you don't have to explain. You don't have to explain. We know. Elon Musk is calling. I get it. But what I meant by that was that with I think about these like different descriptions, and because I was thinking that the red fruit might be more like the peel of red delicious apples is more, because it made me think about that video, and because I said something about red delicious apples, and she was like, "What?" Which I thought was golden. I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is golden." Like I couldn't have planned that better. Like that was really really. I was like, "Oh, that's really awesome." All right, so I mean, is this the end all be all? I don't know. It's interesting. I thank Pete because this was actually a gift from Pete. Like if you go to the SCA show, quite a number of booths, and Hario is one of them. And I hope I'm not giving any secrets away, and will be, causing those guys a lot more problems. But if you hang out at the very end of the show, when they close the show on Sunday afternoon, a lot of times they're just going to give the stuff away because they don't want to pack it up and take it home. You're going to pack this up and ship it home. You're going to pay all that fees from, like, the union guys and all the trucking fees and all that to get it out of there. No, you're gonna like dump it. And that's what they do. They dump it. Some companies, I think, like Fellow, I hear, will dump things, but they're not giving away for free. They're gonna charge you. They're gonna charge you, a lot less than you'd pay at the retail, but they're gonna charge you nonetheless. But some companies like Harry will just be like, here you go, take it away. Thank you. So I got this whole setup last year. Really grateful because I really wanted to have one of these W60s to play around with. And that Hardy tip, that was definitely from Rusty. And then Craig says, I think the drip assist is more for no technique and no gooseneck kettle, folks. I think you're right. I do think you're right. It's something that if I was just going to brew with this big kettle, it'd be a lot easier to pour and have more control, And I think just, I'm always talking about things from the perspective of my position as someone that's been doing this professionally for 20 years. And for someone that spent a lot of time trying to figure out, how do I hold this kettle in a manner that I can control the water flow? So things like the stag kettle from Fellow just upset me. Like, they pissed me off because I'm just like, sometimes I want to pour with control, right? Like, I want to control the pour, right? And move it around. But then other times I want to go fast, like that. And I can't do that with things like the stag kettle because of the restrictor that's in the spout, which just infuriates me to no end. But I do understand why those things exist, because there's a lot of people that won't spend that kind of time and don't have the time. Like, if you're just a regular home guy, you don't really want to sit there for years on end trying to figure out, how do I control this? Who wants to? I get it. I totally get it. So the stag kettle is not for people like me, who will just get infuriated with it and throw their $200 kettle across the room. I did not do that, by the way. I do not have one to own, so I was not able to do that yet. Yeah, very slow pour, very slow pour. All right, so that's pretty much it for today. Thank you very much for tuning in. We're back again tomorrow. And if you happen to be around, I'm hoping George will confirm this, but tonight is Thursday, so it's the Coffee and Cigars live stream on the Ono Live channel. So if you have time, come join me at 8 p.m. Eastern. I think we're going to be down in Alexandria, Virginia. Is that right, George? Are we still good with that? I did make the thumbnail and release the link for it, so hopefully that's still good. But we'll be down there with Reinhard Porek and George Brightman to see what they have to present for more Mirafell cigars. I have no idea what's going to happen there, but we're just going to go and do it. It's going to be a little bit different again on the road. Actually, we'll be on the road now for the next several weeks on that show. Old Town Alexandria. Okay, good. Yeah, at Old Virginia Tobacco. So if you have me watching this at some point in time today, and you have the time to come down, Old Virginia Tobacco in Alexandria, Virginia, come on down. Be there. At what time are we going to be? I'm going to be there probably around 4 p.m. I'm going to go hit some Japanese markets. Go pick up my shoes at Bedo's Leatherworks. If you know Bedo's Leatherworks has a channel, BEDOS Leatherworks on here on YouTube. Fantastic cobbler. He's become a buddy of mine, YouTube buddy, and I have a lot of my shoes done by him. He finally called me about a month or two ago. He's like, "Hey, your shoes are ready." So finally, I'm on the way, dude. No coffee on tap. That's all right. We'll bring some donuts or something like that. All right. So I hope you guys have a wonderful day out there. We're back again tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Eastern. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back again. I don't know what to talk about. Mirafell starts at 7. Okay, so we'll probably start the live stream at 7. All right. Well, that's going to be it for today. Thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you, guys. All the way out there. You know, Moise is out there in Singapore and Craig's in Ottawa. Glad to have all of you guys here. Mom is always in Queens. Rusty's in New Jersey. George down in Virginia. What else do we have out there? Everybody's out. Everybody's around. Well, also, weather's better. So have a great day and see you tomorrow. Thanks, Michael. Rusty.